The industrial Goliath we are visiting in today's exploration video has been producing soda ash since the 1870s. Because it is such an expansive site, some buildings have been disused for years, but the majority of the plant closed 6 years ago. With patrolling security, this is one of our toughest infiltrations to date, and we are going to show you all of our journey from start to end. Be prepared to see some of the UK's finest industrial abandonment, with vintage control rooms and rusting spaces of pipes and machinery. Our mission begins at the half-disused train line. The only users now are the trains that bring materials into the live section of the facility. It isn't the easiest terrain to walk through, but eventually we make it down to the tracks and can start a brief walk until we can see the huge site ahead of us. Soon enough we can spot the ashworks and many of its linking conveyor belts. It is these we are using today to venture inside.
So basically, what we're doing in this conveyor belt is we're going over security who patrol beneath us, so we have to be extremely quiet and keep alert.
Between each pair of conveyors we walk up, there are linking buildings where the materials that they took would be sorted out. It might seem a simple task, but some of the buildings are very large. You might be wondering why we are sharing our route inside, as this is something we don't usually do. Firstly, key parts of the conveyors have been demolished since our visit a few months ago. Also, we think it really shows the true adventure of what we did for this location, and it's something we can look back on in the future as worth it. Finally, we could see the vacant portion of the ashworks in all its abandoned glory. So many buildings lie dormant, it is almost too much to take in. We have now ended up in the tallest building on site, and we need to find our way down through the complex amount of walkways and ladders. The more levels we go down, the less signs of a progressive nature takeover we see, and soon the building appears completely white. This is a mix of the remaining soda ash and dust that has gathered on the property since closure. A constant hum alerts us that the active part of the site is very close. Making our way down the structure made us very visible at points where there was no walls, so we had to pray that no one saw us as we made our descent. After more than an hour, we reached our target destination of the abandoned region of the ashworks. We could look up to see the full extent of what we had just climbed down, and it was a very intimidating building. We were in awe of the scale of abandonment we were exploring. The gargantuan facility was breathtaking to see in person, as there were so many huge structures and linking piping and metal to everyone. It felt like we were in an alternate world. As I said at the beginning of this documentary, this plant has been creating soda ash since the 1870s. It has had 3 organisations take over in its long time, most recently in the mid-2000s. The ash it produced had a ton of uses, but most famously it is used in the glass industry, so it is a very important material to be made. However, around 5 years ago, the company owning the property decided to finish the production of soda ash and change the main material the property makes to something else, so the entire section of the facility that was specifically designed for ash was forced to close down. One of the main reasons we wanted to visit this site wasn't for the massive spaces of vacant industry, it was for a single, fairly small room. We had just made it inside and couldn't wait to see what was upstairs. Hidden in this small brick structure is one of the nicest control rooms you will find in the UK. An array of gauges and knobs coated with a vintage green colour emphasises how old this control room is and how small the chances are that you will find one like this nowadays. The massive site used to have a large power station also connected to it, which was demolished in the mid-2000s. However, for some reason this small structure remains, sat in an untouched state, with some incredibly fascinating paperwork and remnants still sat on the desk. Look at that. 1994, 1995, crazy. We have seen few control rooms in our time of exploring, but this one went instantly to the top of the list. Who knows if we will ever see such a stunning time capsule as this one ever again. The back of the control panels were exposed and we could see the confusing wiring that allowed the room to function at such an accurate level. Time was ticking and there was still so much more to see, so once we eventually finished taking our photos and cinematics, we headed back into the external paradise. Sunlight was fading, but this also helped shine beautiful golden light onto the property. Once you make it into the disused section of the ashworks, every building is easily accessible. Sadly, we didn't have the full timescale we wanted to have a look at everything the amazing site has to offer, so I will link a cinematic video in the description that our friend made, who got to see a lot more than us. Some locker rooms that we found represented the loss of jobs that probably occurred when the gigantic site shut, a key topic at the moment with the likes of the British steel industry collapsing. This large building is our next aim. It houses some great rusting machinery, which is always good to see at an industrial abandonment. The building was even bigger than it looked as well, because the bottom floor was completely flooded with toxic water and the many pumps needed to power the machines were submerged. You can see the effect of decay and rust of the many crossing walkways inside the structure, which are very unsafe to walk on. These long pipe-like machines are called rotary dissolvers. They would be spinning around in order to mix the chemicals together to create the final product of soda ash. Nowadays, they no longer turn at all, frozen with rust and sit in standstill within the piping and ash. Under the dissolvers we could also find the equipment needed to turn them, like the motor and gears. A lot of this room has been stripped out, allowing nature to settle in the parts not covered with soda ash. In addition, the warehouse-like space leads outside, where we can see the recent signs of work towards demolition of the vacant buildings of the site. Diggers and trucks sat unused, currently in fields of rubble. With the sun beginning to set, it was time to head out of the huge industrial beast. When we will find another place like this in England, we could be 20 or 30 years older, as it is very unlikely.
Look at the floor. This is literally like sand.
Together we made our way back up to the massive towering building to begin our assault course of conveyor belts back out of the property. As for the abandoned buildings, they will inevitably be demolished. You can't repurpose a structure built for one use, and to be honest, they aren't the most attractive buildings you will see, because they were constructed just with the thought of soda ash production. We hope you enjoyed coming along with us into another large industrial space. If you did, please drop a like on the video and perhaps leave a comment of feedback, as that really helps us in the future.